Welcome, everybody, to the Genesis Project Podcast. Business principles for beginners from the School of Hard Knocks. They say that success leaves clues. In this podcast, we're going to discover the clues that it leaves behind, and we're going to start at the very beginning. We'll get into the weeds of how the guests of the show came up with their business ideas, the why behind their business ideas, how they dealt with setbacks and failures, what keeps them pushing forward, and the emotions behind it all. Everyone wants to start a business, but many are held back by something that keeps them from starting. We'll learn what it takes to get to the next level of business and beyond, and we're learning together through different principles of people who graduated from the School of Hard Knocks. So, grab you a pen, some paper, and a highlighter to take notes, because class is in session. To the School of Hard Knocks, I am your host, Bernard Gleaton of the Genesis Project Podcast, and we have an awesome guest that I've been waiting to bring onto the show for a nice little bit now. Guest Professor Mitch Schoenman. Say what's up to the class.
What's up, class? Thanks for having me, Bernard.
Man, when I reached out to you and you said yes, I was super excited because I've seen some of your work already, and just before we even started talking, did my little research on you, and I was really impressed with your story and everything that you're bringing to the table. So I was super excited for you to come onto the show and actually talk about those exciting things that you got going on right now. But because I know you in the class, so I want to give you the opportunity for you to give the classroom just a quick bio on you and what you got going on right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate the kind words, first of all. Likewise, I was excited to get to come on the show. But my name is Mitch Schoenman. I'm located in Nashville, Tennessee. I run a digital marketing company with my wife called Showtime Media. We've been in business for 3.5 years, and we live in Nashville for 3.5 years. So we've been in business pretty much since we came to Nashville, got the entrepreneurial bug right away. That's pretty much what I do. I'm originally from the Cleveland, Ohio area. So got down to Nashville right after college. I went to Ohio University, and that's how I got to where I am now. So,
hey, you said Ohio University, not Ohio State, right?
yeah, Ohio University.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, yeah, distinction. Distinction.
Yeah. And for those of you who are not able to see this right now, he is wearing a 615 baseball hat. So
Yeah.
being a guy from Detroit, I had to rep the 313, which is the area called Detroit. And, I'll talk a little shit to him. He talked a little shit to me. It's all good.
Perfect. I love it.
So with all of that being said, I'm happy that you're here. So let's go ahead and jump into it. You good with that?
Let's do it.
Awesome. So the first question I always ask my guests is, what is your Genesis moment? And for those of you who are brand new to the School of Hard Knocks, let me explain to you what the Genesis moment is. The Genesis moment is when you come to a fork in your road, and you can go left or you can go right, and you can see a light beyond those steps on both paths. It doesn't necessarily have to be good. It doesn't necessarily have to be bad, but you can see your light. So example of a Genesis moment would be me starting a show. That's a Genesis moment. Me getting married. That's another Genesis moment. Me trying out for the CFL 4 years removed from high school. That's the Genesis moment. So, Guest Professor Mitch, I want you to give us your Genesis moment.
Yeah, I really appreciated you prior to hopping on the show explaining it to me, because I was thinking about, what's my Genesis moment before getting on the show, because I had listened to another episode. And so I didn't really understand it as the fork in the road. And when you said that, I have a really distinct one. So my wife and I were building Showtime Media while we were in full-time jobs. And it was really difficult. We were working 80, 90-hour weeks because, as the business grew, we're still in our 40-hour week jobs. And, you got 40, 50 hours of work on Showtime Media on the side. And I remember right after we got married, we went to Charleston, South Carolina for a little mini honeymoon. And I was walking up King Street, and I just thought, out of nowhere, it just hit me. I thought, what am I doing? Why am I not taking the jump? What's going to make me take the leap? When am I ever going to take the leap? And I went back the next week and I quit my job, and my
Mm,
wife quit her job, and we've been full-time in Showtime Media ever since. And I think that was my genesis moment where I realized that we're all presented, whether it's in entrepreneurship, relationships, careers, anything, we're all presented with these opportunities to take a leap and grow from an opportunity. And I wasn't doing that. I was too fearful. I didn't have the courage to do it. And so my genesis moment was jump, and I did, and it's been amazing ever since.
mm. You know, I would imagine that that is pretty scary, especially for some of the class, for some of the people who are in the class who are in that same situation and they're trying to figure out, should I make the jump or shouldn't I? Or if I make the jump, I will lose, all of these benefits that I'm getting from my 9 to 5 versus me making up my own benefits from me working my business. Can you talk about that fear for just a brief moment?
Oh yeah, I mean, that's what kept me for years. I had so many opportunities to make the jump when I look back. And I mean, I think you have to be smart, of course. You have to weigh, do you have kids? Do you have a family to take care of? What responsibilities do you have? You can't destroy your life, you know? And so I think some people out there will tell you, just make the jump, just make the jump, just go. And I think that can be a little bit premature advice, because you still do have to take care of your responsibilities. You know, I have student loans and a mortgage that has to be paid. So if I couldn't pay that with Showtime Media, I have to stay in my job so that I don't get foreclosed on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and so I think you have to take those into consideration. What are your responsibilities? And then what luxuries do you have in your life that you can do without? And do you have room to make some sacrifices that you could make the jump? And you know, if you really want it bad enough, a lot of the time you can make the jump in some sort of way. Looking back, I always tell people, I wish I would have got a part-time job, so that way I would have had a little bit of security, but then I would have had far more time to work on Showtime Media and build my actual dream. But I was so stuck in the fear of, I have to get these bills paid, I have to pay my student loans, all of this stuff, that I couldn't even see other possibilities that were out there. And so
Hmm.
just look at all your possibilities when it comes to that fear. Make sure you're taking care of yourself and your family, but realize a lot of the time that there are other solutions to spending more time in what it is that you want to do. It's not always jumping into it full time. Maybe it is, but there's part-time jobs, there's remote jobs, there's a lot of things you can do other than what you're maybe doing going to an office.
Hmm.
I think you just weigh the pros and cons, and if you can swing it, and if your why is important enough to you, you're going to figure out a way to make it work. I just took a really long time to see that, but that was my genesis moment for sure.
I'm so glad that you mentioned the idea of getting a part-time job.
Mm.
For everybody who's in a class who are in this same position, we're not advocating for you to just quit your job and make the job. No, that's not what we're saying. We're saying you be smart about it. So with that being said, I want you to tell me, how did you go about being smart about it? Because my wife told me I can't quit my 9 to 5 job until I make 10 grand a month. And I'm pretty close. I'm pretty close. But I understand her reason for saying that. So I want you to try to bring some let's dig a little deeper into what made you comfortable with making a jump.
Yeah.
What did you have on the side? Did you save up some money? Was it how much money you was bringing in from the business side that made more sense for you to quit your 9 to 5? Things of that nature.
Yeah, so that's a great question, because people oftentimes don't have a set strategy for
Yeah.
when they make this jump. And so our strategy was pretty simple. It had three different rungs to it. So the first rung was, do we have 6 months to a year of savings set aside? If the business goes to zero and we need to find jobs, do we have money to live on for 6 months to a year? So we
Hmm.
checked that box. We had a good savings from our jobs and the business and everything like that. And we were really diligent about putting that away. The second rung was, What kind of revenue are we bringing in? Are we close to what we're bringing in from our salaries? We were close. Some months we were over, some months we were a little under. We were kind of going back and forth, but because we had that savings to go back on, we were still pretty comfortable. And then the third thing that I think is actually the most important thing, but people don't, they don't really look at this one. They only look at the money, is what's the structure of your customer or client base? So for us, it's recurring revenue and retainer clients, right?
Yeah.
What is our churn rate of those clients? Are we bringing in new clients and losing them right away? Are we keeping these clients for a long time? What's the average life of a client? So if I bring on a new client, how much money am I going to make from that client on average? And if that is, showing me growth and it's showing me stability and sustainability for my lifestyle, then if we can check those three rungs, we can quit our jobs. And we did. So we had a very good retention rate with our clients. We had a good savings, and we were, like I said, sometimes a little bit over the revenue mark and sometimes a little bit under, but because we checked the other two rungs, we were still comfortable enough to make the jump to full time.
So you made the plan, you worked the plan, and you made the plan work.
Yep.
That's
That's it.
awesome. Awesome. Class, I hope you're getting that, because that's very, very important. That's why I wanted to make sure I'll put it back out there again. Work the plan, create the plan, work the plan, and then everything else will just fall in place. So with all of that, I know you mentioned that you went to Ohio University, not Ohio State, Ohio
Right.
University.
Yep.
What was you studying there? Because I'm just curious to know, how did you get your business acumen?
Yeah. So I started working at a really young age, and I worked for another entrepreneur basically my whole working life, right? But when I was 15, I started working, and I just worked for a guy who had a pest control company. He had a property management company. He was a landlord. And so I got to do a lot of different things and acquire a lot of different skills and learn how to talk to people, learn how sales work, all that kind of stuff. I was
Yeah.
observing from a fairly young age. And I went to school and had no idea what I wanted to do. No idea. I just wanted to play baseball. So I played baseball, ended up getting hurt, and my career ended, blew out my shoulder. And so I just studied psychology. I
Hmm.
knew that I liked to learn about the way people think and the way that people interact and all of that stuff. Had no idea how that was going to be applicable to my life after college or anything like that. And now so I get out of college, get into sales, loved it, because to me, really, it's pretty much psychology. It's a lesson in psychology every single day. You've got to know how to talk to different types of people.
Hmm.
And then my wife wanted to start her company, and it was just such a natural transition because I had witnessed this entrepreneurial life, studied psychology, learned how people think, and it all kind of clicked for me. I said to myself, wow, I can put together all these kind of passions into my own thing. That's cool. I didn't think I could ever do that. And so entrepreneurship for me was a no-brainer once I could see it all connect, but it took some time. So psychology was kind of a don't know what I want to do with my life
Yeah.
major.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I can understand that. I can definitely understand that. It's funny. I started reading business magazines and
Okay.
business books when I was super young. I don't know, maybe like you know, 10, 11, 12 years old or whatever else like that. And one of the things that stood out to me was the suits that they wore,
Yeah.
because I'm I don't want to say I'm old, but I'm definitely not young. Let's just say I'm right there in the middle. But I've always dressed casual, slacks, sports coat, you know, loafers, or something like that. I don't know why that jumped out at me, but that every time I seen a suit with a tie, I always thought, okay, businessman, right?
Yeah.
And I always wanted to kind of be like that. And of course, it's not until I started getting older I started realizing that there's a lot of faces, there's a lot of dressing with being an entrepreneur and just being a business owner and things of that nature. You don't necessarily have to wear a suit. You can wear
Right.
jeans and a t-shirt and still
Yeah.
own a couple of businesses. You know what I mean? But it wasn't until maybe 15, 16, I started making the connection.
Hmm.
Everything that I was reading up to that point was, oh, you know what? I don't have to be, for example, downtown, you know, working in an office. You know,
Yep.
I could be working from home or, you know, in my car. It don't matter where I could be. You know, I could still start something and things of that nature. But all of the business acumen that I've learned has been from books, um, from magazines, and again, talking to people like you who are an entrepreneur, who are a business owner yourself, and just learning from people like you as well. You know,
Absolutely. I mean, I think you bring up, so after college, my business acumen has come from the same place as you. It took me a lot longer to find those resources, I guess, because I grew up in a really traditional go to college, get a job, climb the corporate ladder, retire.
yeah,
That's what I saw. That's what I thought I was supposed to do. And I felt really confused all the time because I hated the idea of that. People would ask me what I wanted to do, and I would just want to throw up because I'm like, I don't know what I want to do. I
yeah,
hate all this stuff.
yeah, yeah,
And then when I found entrepreneurship, I found books like, I read all the time, and wow, there's all this free information out there, and I can talk to people like you and the people I network with on LinkedIn and learn all this stuff just by talking and just by interacting and reading and listening to podcasts. After I got out of college, I found all those resources, and it's literally changed my life. I say that all the time. People kind of laugh and they think, oh, that couldn't change your life. It's not going to do anything, but it does. If you really implement things that you read and listen to and talk about, if you implement those in your daily life, it changes your life. So
yeah, yeah, totally. You know, funny thing, I wanted when I was young, what I wanted to be when I grew up was a, a fighter jet pilot.
there you go.
And then I got tall, and that pretty much went out the window.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm about 6'5", and
Okay.
I found out that everybody who is a fighter jet pilot, like, you know, Top Gun, all them guys is obviously below 6 feet. You know,
For sure.
they like 5'5", and I'm like, man, this sucks.
And
You know,
not going to work.
no, not at all, not at all. You know, they're gonna have to extend the cockpit for a person of my size, and they're not gonna do that for me.
No. No.
So let me ask you this. I know you are a fellow podcaster.
Yeah.
I want to know, how did you, or what was your reason for starting a podcast?
Yeah, I love that question because we have I feel like a lot of people just start podcasts and they don't have a moment like you had or anything like that. It's just a marketing technique, right? Ours was, we see all these entrepreneurs that have kind of made it, and they're always just not talking down. They do a great job of teaching, but it's really hard sometimes when you're in the thick of building a business to hear somebody that's a billionaire talk to you about things, because although I'm avidly against the, oh, it's easy for you to say mentality, it's really difficult to hear someone that's already gone through it tell you about the struggles that you're currently in. And so we said, well, let's just create a podcast called the Along the Way podcast, where we talk about all that stuff, and we come from the perspective of, hey, we're here, you know, we're last month we lost money, this month we lost clients, this is hard, that's hard. Let's talk about the things that actually suck about being an entrepreneur, and not just glorify it like it's happening all over Instagram and everything
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
And we've had a great response from it because people actually want to be vulnerable and they want to talk about the struggles of the things. Not to say it's all bad, but there is a lot of difficulty when it comes to starting a business that people just, it's kind of taboo to talk about. They don't want to talk about it. And so
yeah,
that was the purpose for the Along the Way podcast.
yeah. You know, I must say, one of my biggest pet peeves is when you see people on social media. They talk about, hey, I'm in a gym. Oh, I'm doing all of this work, and you know, I might be in a gym with them. And for example, you know, somebody who wants to be a basketball player, you know, they say, oh, you know, I'm always in the gym shooting and taking pictures. Yeah, you
Yeah.
know, always working in the gym, and I come into the gym, I might see you, and you're not doing nothing, but you sitting in the corner on your phone. That pisses me off royally. Like, you
Oh,
know,
bad.
that like,
Oh,
why do you have to put up this front that you're working, you know,
yeah.
and like what? You know, if you don't need me, I'm not going to continue to portray my lifestyle as of, you know, me working this, that, and third. You're going to see my work. You don't
Exactly.
have to have me tell you what I'm doing. You're going to see what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
Right. It's exactly. I will not post. I talk about this with my wife all the time. If it's not something, I'll post like fun lifestyle things, whatever. You can see what I cooked for dinner, that kind of stuff, what everyone
Yeah.
posts on Instagram. But when it comes to like digital marketing and what we're, what we're experts in, I'll post something that's going to help. Like I'll post a resource, I'll post a tip, all that stuff. But you're not going to see me post about my workouts in the gym. Why? Because I'm not an athletic trainer. I'm not helping you by posting about me in the gym. I go to the gym in the morning. You don't need to see it. You'll see it by the fact that, I'm in good shape and everything like that. If I'm not going to help you achieve something, if it's not my job, I just don't post it because I don't feel that it's my responsibility since I'm not a fitness professional. I'm just using fitness as an example, but
Mm-hmm.
since I'm not a fitness professional, I don't feel it my responsibility to help people with their workouts. You shouldn't take advice from me. I'm not a professional. You know what I mean?
Right.
And people, yeah, they post all over social media about, what they're experts in, and they're not really experts in it. So
Yeah, they just make it a fun. That's what my grandparents used to say.
yeah, it's true, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my goodness, it pisses me off. Anywho, anywho, I could talk about that for hours, but that's
I
not
could.
what we're here for. So I want to know, what is the difference between B2B marketing and B2C marketing? And for those of you who are kind of new to this thing, let me explain to you what B2B marketing is. B2B marketing is business to business. B2C means business to consumer. So I want you to kind of explain the difference between the two marketing styles.
Sure. Yeah. The biggest difference between the styles is that there's different strategies that work for customer acquisition, right? And so in the B2C world, you've got to tell more of a story. You've got to be more entertaining. You've got to, really build trust within a large customer base. And so you have to hit a higher number of people to bring in the amount of customers that you need to do because you're selling a lower ticket item typically. I'll use examples to kind of teach it. So let's say you're selling a new shampoo. That's your B2C. You're selling it B2C. You're the business, the customer is buying it from your business. So you're going to use, Facebook ads and funnels and social media and, retail physical marketing and all these different things to put your product in front of a massive amount of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so with the intent that you're going to sell a massive amount of product. And so it's a little bit more costly on the ad. It's a quicker purchase typically than a B2B style because it's cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
And so really the biggest thing just lies in the strategy. Now, I think that storytelling is important for both B2B and B2C. Some people disagree with that, but I think that the story of your business, the story of your brand, building trust in the digital space is important on both ends. So in B2B, you may do more things on LinkedIn. You may do LinkedIn ads. You may do PPC ads and SEO and content marketing. There's a lot of other strategies because you're selling a much more high ticket item. So let's say you have a new software and that's going to be your B2B. So you're, trying to drive other executives into your website to check out your new software and book a demo. Strategy is a little different, but you still, I like to talk about marketing in the digital space. When you're selling, I like to compare it to a digital sales process. When
Mm-hmm.
you sell on the phone, you get on the phone, you would never call somebody and right when I picked up, hey Bernard, and then go right into a close. You would never do that, but people do that in both B2B and B2C marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So they just try to put out one ad that tries to close their customer. When you're on the phone, you got to build trust, you got to build rapport. It takes multiple calls, all this stuff before you have the permission to go for the close. You've got to do that in both B2B and B2C. So I know I went on a little bit of a tangent, but to answer your question, I think storytelling and trust building and brand building are important on both B2B and B2C marketing. The difference lies in the tactics. So the tactics are going to be very different on the B2C and the B2B side.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Okay. So I also know that you use websites or building websites to help with the marketing piece. For those of for those of you who are in the class, I want you to explain to them, obviously without giving away the secret sauce, just some keys that they should really be paying attention to when it comes to building their website?
Yeah. First of all, anybody listening, I don't mean to offend, but it's 2020. If you have a bad website, it's time to clean it up. You know,
Yeah.
we got to have good websites out there. But a few things that you can do are, number one, the biggest issue we run into is poor graphics on a website. Blurry pictures, pictures that don't fit, pictures that you can't really tell what it is. You got to have good pictures on your website. And there are plenty of resources out there where you can go, just Google free stock images. You know, you can find free stock images that look really nice and they're going to fit on your website and they're not going to be blurry and anything like that.
Yeah.
The second thing is, and this is the second most important thing, graphics and then copy. Okay. Your copy has to be written well. Grammar mistakes, copy that's written in blocks that don't look right with the graphics and everything like that. You got to have tight copy because it's going to build trust in your business. If someone comes to your website and things are spelled wrong and you're missing periods after sentences and stuff like that, you automatically lose trust within that customer. They're going to leave your site and go to another one because they don't think you have it together as a business.
Mm-hmm.
So graphics and copy, and then just make sure that you're using call to actions. The number 3 thing that we noticed is you never tell your customer what to do on the website. So in any marketing, whether that's in ads, whether it's on social media, a blog, a website, if you don't tell your customer what to do next, they're not going to do it. So make sure that all over your website, you've got call to actions. You know, check us out here, call us today, contact us now. Give them an opportunity to talk to you all the time throughout your website. You want to make as many options as you can for that customer to talk to you.
So you said having great pictures,
Yep.
having good copy,
Yep.
and call to action.
Absolutely. 3 things you can do today. You know, if you can log into your WordPress, you can change all 3 of those things.
Yeah. Now, I know what copy is, and you know what copy is. I want you to tell the class what is copy, because from my understanding, I know it's like a sales, like you know, like sales writing. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
I want you to talk about copy for a moment.
Yeah, boiled down. I'm glad you bring that up because I just say it because I talk about it every day and I just throw it out there. But then I realize, you know, some people don't know what copy is. So boiled down, copy is just the written words on your website or the written words on your ad or your social media post. So you're right. When you say sales copy, you want to write in a way that's going to promote your customer taking action with your business. So your copy on the about page needs to talk about your story and why you started and, you know, what makes your business special. The copy on your homepage needs to give information about your services and catch their attention and show why you're better than the competition and all that stuff. So the copy is the written word, but on your website, you want to write it in a way that's logical. Homepage, catch their attention, show why you're better, why they should use you, give them a call to action and a reason to talk to you today. About, tell your why, your story, everything like that. Each page, you know, be logical about, hey, how can this page motivate my customer in a further way to take action with my business? If you can do that, you're going to have a lot more success converting on your website.
Yeah. I think people tend to forget about the copy.
Oh, yeah.
And I also think that people tend to focus too much on the copy, whereas everything else lacks. You know, I like to think that there needs to be a healthy balance of everything, obviously, right?
Yep.
I can recall when I first started getting into the space of entrepreneurship and things of that nature. That's all I heard was copy.
Yep.
And there's people who are making a living as copywriters. And when I say copywriter, again for the class, people who write sales letters for a living, right?
Yep.
And the amount of psychology in it is amazing. And after a while, it for me personally, it started to get a tad bit overwhelming. And then after a while, it's just like, you know what, just write something. Just write something, you know?
People really overthink it. And the key is it's got to be a little bit catchy. It's got to be short. It's got to be simple. And that leads me to one more tip. I know I had three, but a fourth one that I can tell you about your website, not your website, but people's websites out there, is people get really, really complicated on their website. They want to put everything about their business, right, on the website. And so the pages are really busy, all that stuff. Keep it simple, because what that does psychologically is if you do a good job with the graphics and the copy and you catch the attention of the customer, they're going to want to know more. And so they're going to click that contact us button. If you put it all on the website, it's going to overwhelm them. They're not going to read everything, and they're just going to leave and go find somebody else. So leave a little bit to the imagination, but do a great job with catching the attention.
Yeah.
Keep it simple, and you're going to be able to convert off your website.
Yeah. You know, psychology wise, do you want your website to sort of give off the impression of your character, maybe your personality a little bit?
Yes, we think so. I mean, people will tell you different opinions on that, but we are big proponents of show the personality of your business, whatever that is. If you are a very tight knit, business oriented, serious business, that's okay to show that, because
Yeah.
if you're driving the right customers in, they're going to appreciate that. If you're fun and, creative and all that stuff, show that, because people want to work with people they like, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, give those people what they want. And when they get to your website, they're going to connect with the personality that they see. And, that's going to help you a lot. I always tell people, you wouldn't wear a t-shirt to a job interview, right?
Yeah.
You would dress for the type of job that you were trying to get. So
Yeah.
create a website that is aiming to get the type of client that you're trying to secure.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that, because from the Genesis Project podcast website, I wanted it to, again, because I have to, I'm a Detroit guy. I love Detroit. Detroit has a great uh, a great scene, and as far as art, as far as us being a blue collar city, much like Cleveland. I
Mhm.
wanted to somehow display that
Yeah.
within my website. So what I did was I went and found a bunch of street art in Detroit.
Yeah.
Street art that I've seen just from driving around, but I knew that there was pictures of it because it was gorgeous, it was beautiful, and I took those pictures and I put it on my website, and I wanted it to be, in a sense, I wanted to show that blue collar sense
Mhm.
of thinking, right? I also wanted to show the ability of creativity. You know,
Mhm.
it's a bit of rawness in there. In that rawness comes creativity, and from
Right.
that creativity comes, I guess you could say, a zone of genius. And I wanted to
Yeah.
make sure I put that throughout the whole website of Genesis Project Podcast, along
Yeah.
with, of course, little pictures of you knowing, hey, this is a podcast.
Yeah.
But this is from Detroit and all that type of stuff. And besides the just showing, I guess, pictures of downtown Detroit, right?
Mhm.
Because I feel that, the pictures of downtown Detroit is beautiful, but if I just put that there, who's really gonna know? You know,
Right.
for me, it just kind of went down the rabbit hole. But I wanted to make sure that I display other parts of Detroit and not just one specific part of Detroit. You know what I mean?
Seeing what you did is such a great thing that I think people need to take note of is you're building a brand. So you
Yeah,
decide before you put your website together, what do we stand for? We want that creativity. We want to
yeah,
show that blue collar personality of Detroit. And then you found things to match that, right? So anybody out there listening who's struggling with the identity of your business, just think about who you are. What do you want to stand for? And then find things that match those traits, and you're going to have a lot more success, because people buy into that. They want to see what you stand for. It doesn't even necessarily matter what it is, as long as you have an identity. So make sure that
yeah,
you have an identity with your business.
yeah, yeah. I love that. Speaking of website, on your website, you mentioned that you wanted to leverage the powerful content marketing strategies that drive new revenue opportunities for your business while establishing a unique brand identity. And
Mhm.
again, without giving away your secret sauce or whatever, what are some of the things that businesses could do right now to start moving in that direction?
Yeah, so we always say to our prospects and our new clients, we want to build your brand and your business. So there's people out there fighting right now in the marketing world, whether branding is more important or whether digital marketing practices are more important. And we think that both are very important. And we want to combine those two things. So I think what you can do to kind of put yourself on a straight line is choose a couple of social media platforms that you're going to get active on. These aren't going to be your main revenue generators, okay? They're
Mhm.
not going to be your main lead generation sources, most likely. What they're going to be is branding tools for your business. So tighten up your website, like we were just talking about. Get
Mhm.
active on a couple social media platforms where you can show the personality of your company, cool pictures of what you do, things about your company culture, all these things that build a brand and an identity for your business in the digital space. Then choose a lead generation strategy. You have to have one. So many businesses, at the expense of their growth, try to save money by not paying for some sort of lead generation. So you don't have to pay a ton of money, right? But most lead generation is going to cost you something, whether that
Yeah.
be Facebook ads, PPC ads, SEO. You're going to have to either put a bunch of time or some money into a strategy. So if you have that, that's going to start to build your business, right? So we've got your website, we've got your social media, that's building your brand. Now we've got a lead generation strategy that's building your business.
Mhm.
Then make sure you have a set sales operation, whatever that looks like. Doesn't matter what industry you're in. Just make sure that every client or every prospect is treated with a process, a respectful process that makes them feel like the hero. And then you're going to close a lot more business, right? So it starts with building that identity and the trust within the digital space, generating a lead, and then closing them. So our little motto is create, connect, close. Create your brand, connect with your audience, close new business. We want you to run that straight line rather than just throwing out a bunch of Facebook ads and hoping that leads come in, because that's not a really genuine way to build an audience, you know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of a few different tactics I would take if you don't have a system in place already. I would take those 3, 4 tactics I just said and implement them in some way.
Mm. I want you to repeat your process again. You said create. What else?
Create, connect, then close.
Create, connect, then close. That's awesome. I like that. I
Thanks.
like that.
Thanks.
I would say that with the lead generation, I think that well, by the time this episode come out, I will have the School of Hard Knocks online courses,
Nice.
which is a course that I've created. It's going to be a mini course and it's also going to be a full course, but the mini course is obviously going to be completely free. Um, the mini course will teach people how to start a business, right?
Nice.
In the first, after the first semester or the first season of the podcast, I've reached out to talk to people, get them to listen to the podcast, build up my email list, and it seemed like I was getting a lot of the same question. How do I start a business?
Yep.
And what about LLCs and S corps and things of that nature, right? And again, I said this a few times already, and I have no problem saying it again. I was ignorant to think, don't everybody know this by now? But because people are new and starting this whole new business venture, maybe they don't know. So
Right.
one person in particular had brought that to my attention or asked me that question. And I said, okay, cool, no problem. I'll bring somebody on the show to talk about that. And maybe 10 minutes later, after I got finished talking to the person, I said, you know what? I want to start this online school. I could create this course, put it out there for those people who are brand new to business, to entrepreneurship, who have an idea but don't know how to necessarily start working towards this idea,
Right.
right? So I'm bringing that up to get to this point. My idea with the whole lead generation is me doing this mini course. I'm
Yeah.
giving it away for free. You know, you'll be able to have some more knowledge of how to start your business. With
Yeah.
the full course, you're getting more knowledge, but I'm also instructing you on how to start your business. I'm
Yep.
teaching you, the difference between an LLC and an S corp, partnership or what have you. And I'm
Right.
actually walking through the process of filling out your paperwork,
Yep.
getting your EIN number, which is your employee identification number. Being recognized by the government that you are a
Yeah.
legitimate business, right?
Right.
So the lead generation um, plan is to, again, give away the mini course. You
Yep.
know,
I think you bring up a great because it's easy to talk about that for lead generation. It's part of what we do, but there are a million different ways to generate leads, right? Down to if you don't have a budget, people will say, well, I don't have a budget for lead generation. Like, well, you have a phone, right? And
yeah,
there you have Google. Start cold calling. That's lead generation. It depends what you have a budget for and what you're good at. That's the other thing, right? So you have
yeah,
this podcast network and you have this valuable course. Generating leads through that is what you're good at. You should generate leads that way because it's going to be authentic and it's going to bring in the clients that you want to work with. If you're a sales shark and you love being on the phone, start making cold calls. You don't have to pay anything to make cold calls, and you can fill up your pipeline that way. If you hate being on the phone, if you hate interacting with people in that way, build a funnel and drive traffic into the funnel with ads. You can even build a funnel where you never even have to talk to anybody. They'll just give you your
yeah,
credit card.
yeah,
So just figure out what you're good at, the way that you want to generate leads, and there's a million different ways to do it. There's not one set way, and that's the beauty of lead generation. So
yeah, yeah. You know, two things I wanted to bring up with that. Um, the first thing is I just realized that was a cheap way of marketing my online school, but I
I
take that.
love it.
It's okay.
Yeah, take it all day.
And also with the online school, I will say that I do have some guest professors who are creating courses and will be more than happy to host it onto my online school platform. So for those of you in the class who are looking for more ways to start your business or to push your business to another level, I would definitely tell you check it out. They got awesome stuff, and we have great guests that's coming on here all the time. They're focusing within their zone of genius, and why not? You might as well take advantage of it, right?
For sure. Yeah.
The second thing I wanted to bring up was the funnel. I'm
Yeah.
so glad you brought up the funnel.
Yeah.
I think that's something that obviously for those in the class who are new to this whole business entrepreneurship idea, they don't know what a funnel is. And at some point, I plan on bringing somebody onto the show who talk about funnels in a more deep discussion. But I want you to talk about funnel.
Yeah, yeah, please. So think of a funnel as like you're putting oil in a car with a funnel, right? So
Yeah,
you pour a bunch of oil into the top of the funnel, and as it goes down, it squeezes and less can go through the end of that funnel. So your sales operation needs to be the exact same way. And the cool thing is, there are softwares out there where you build digital marketing funnels, but really your sales process is always a funnel if you think about it, right?
hmm,
So a lot of leads come into the top of that funnel and they're not as warm as they're going to be as they go down that funnel. But as they warm up, as they take more action with different pieces of content, they're going down your funnel, they're becoming warmer, but the number of leads is getting smaller. And then as they warm up, they go through the bottom of that funnel. And so you had all these cold leads that came into the top of the funnel. And as they got warmer, they squeezed down the funnel. And then your clients come out the bottom of the funnel,
hmm,
just like oil into a car, right?
yeah,
And so one of the things that people forget, and I mentioned this earlier, is people will throw a bunch of ads out there online or social media posts and just expect people to buy from them. Well, that's never going to happen. You have to have multiple touch points, right? So basically what a funnel is it's a series of landing pages that are geared towards different levels of your funnel. So you have to segment your audience. So once they've interacted with one piece of content that you have out there, it may be very surface level about your business, might be introductory about what you do, but they interact it, they give you their email address, you give away a freebie, right?
yeah,
You give
yeah,
them a free ebook or whatever. And They give you the email address. Okay, they're a little warmer. They've moved down your funnel a little bit. So now you have to have a system in place to where that segment of your audience is going to see different content. They already know what you do. They already read your free ebook or downloaded your free ebook. Now, what can you give them now that they're a little warmer that's going to go a little bit deeper? What information can you give them that's going to warm them up even more and bring them to the next landing page that's going to offer the opportunity to hop on a strategy call with you, right? Now they're on a call with you. Once they're on a call with you and they've already read your ebook and signed up for your newsletter and all this stuff, they're getting on a call with you. You can bring them in as a client very, very easily compared to when they were at the top of the funnel, right? So think of a funnel just like putting oil into a car. And then if it's in the digital space, it's a series of landing pages where you're giving away different pieces of value at each stage, but that value is geared towards where they're at in your funnel. You have to segment the audience. You can't just give away the same thing at each funnel, at each level of the funnel, sorry.
You know, I would say I love the description that you gave. I love the way that you explained it. Because this happened to me recently, I just recently brought a gun, right? So of course I'm looking for all the little stuff to go for my gun, right? I'm looking for the holster. I need a lock box, you know. So of course I'm Googling all this type of stuff, right? So as soon as I leave Google and check it out, okay, I kind of have an idea of what I want. That's fine. I'll push it to the side. I jump on Facebook, Instagram, and now I'm getting all these ads about, you know, the lock boxes, you know, holsters and things of that nature. It's like I'm done with the searching.
I know,
You know, that in a way you could say that's funneling as well. That's a little bit more. A little bit more not in depth, but there's a lot more advanced techniques with that and all that type of stuff. But that's why, class, you start seeing things after you get finished doing the Google search. You go to Facebook and Instagram and you start seeing all of these ads being targeted towards you. That's because they are trying to get you into their funnel.
Yep, absolutely. For people in the class listening, there's things on Facebook, there's a thing called a pixel, and it tracks where you are online, and then it shoots things to you that are geared towards the segment of the audience that you've been deemed to be a part of. On Google, there's a tags manager that does the same thing. It's a piece of code that tracks you around the internet. So you might find, Google owns YouTube, right? So a lot of times what people see is that they'll go on Google and spend time looking at something, a gun, for example. They're researching on a gun, and then all of a sudden you go to watch a YouTube video later that night, and then a video ad pops up, and you get that explosive guy that's advertising the gun case or whatever. That's funneling for sure.
Yeah, that is funneling for sure. Okay, so let me ask you this. Now that we're getting more so towards the end of this interview, because I know you are a busy man, you and your wife got a business to run. I want to ask you, what is the one thing you wish you knew before you started your business?
The one thing I wish I knew before we started our business was that it was okay to jump. I know it kind of circles right back to the Genesis moment.
Yeah.
Not everything's going to be easy. Not everything's going to be able to be planned out. Not everything is going to be black and white. There's going to be a lot of gray area when you're an entrepreneur, and you have to be comfortable with that. I'm a very black and white type person. I like to know my answers, and being an entrepreneur has taught me that it can't always be the case, as you know, it can't always be the case. And I wish I would have known that that's okay, because like I said earlier, I grew up in an area where you went to college and you got a job and you climbed the corporate ladder, and that wasn't okay to not have it figured out. It's okay to not have it figured out. It's okay to learn as you go. It's okay to fail. I wish I would have known that earlier on, because I feel like I would have taken the jump into this more quickly, and we may even be further along than we are now. So,
Wow. For whatever reason, my wife tells me I need to stop doing this, but I got to bring it back to sports.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I know you played baseball, so you can kind of understand where I'm going with this. In football, you have the play that you are going to run. However, defense job is to stop the play, right?
Yep.
Now, you may have to deviate from that play from time to time. If it doesn't work out, that doesn't mean that the play just don't work. It just means that the defense defended that play pretty well. Maybe
Yep.
you can sneak that play back in a little later, and you will have some success with it, right?
Yep.
That's to say that you know, nothing hardly ever goes to plan.
Yep.
That's why you always see, for those of you who are really into football, when Peyton Manning was playing, you know, he's always at the line, and you don't know what the hell he's saying. You
Yep.
think he could be calling an audible, which he very well maybe, and then again, he may not be calling an audible. He might just be again making a fun, right? You don't know, but you know, I wanted to focus on the audible portion where you know, you see something in defense, you see something that's going on within your business, and you had this plan to get to from point A to point B, and you see something in your business that might prevent you from getting to point B with your current plan, you had to audible, call
Yep.
another play at the line. Okay,
Yep.
well, this is not going to work. Let's do this to try to still get here, right?
Yep.
I think we need to be okay and expect that things are not going to work out. It's
Yep.
not supposed to work out like that.
Being comfortable with the audible is probably the most important thing, in my opinion, of being an entrepreneur, because you're going to come to the line and you're going to see something in the defense that you need to change right now. I mean, we put out a new strategy. All of a sudden, we see that it's not working or converting the way that we want it to. We've got to make a change today. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? For this to show us a return on our investment. It's just like football. It's just like being a quarterback. I love that analogy. I think it's the best way that you can explain it. So
yeah, yeah. I'm actually quite proud of myself for not getting too deep and too analytical and too scientific with the whole football thing. So I think my wife would be somewhat proud of me.
I love that analogy. It's perfect.
All right, how do you run a business and still find balance with your home life?
You got to draw boundaries. So I'm not a big fan of the word balance. I'm more of a fan of the word presence. And that's something that I learned
Mm,
from an influencer. I don't know if you're familiar with him. His name's Jesse Itzler.
mm-hmm.
He talks about that all the time. So when you're trying to balance things, you have the opportunity for them to fall, right? And so if I'm trying to balance a bunch of plates at some time, I'm going to drop one, right? So what I would rather do is just be present, focusing on one plate, but then draw a boundary to I'm going to go spend time focusing on this plate. So
Mm-hmm.
when it's work time, that's all I'm focused on. If I'm going to work 12 hours today, I'm going to work 12 hours today. But then I have a boundary where from this time to this time, I'm going to spend time with my wife. Or from this time to this time, I'm going to call my mom or whatever. You
Mm-hmm.
draw these boundaries in your life and just be super present when those boundaries are available. Because where the problem happens and where people struggle, they say they struggle with work-life balance because they're supposed to be watching a movie with their wife, but they're over there reading their email on their phone. They're not present at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
if you can draw boundaries, and it doesn't mean you don't work a lot. Like I said, I mean, there's days where we work 15 hours, but we always just designate, okay, Thursday night at this time, we're doing this and we're not working. Draw boundaries in your life. And I think that balance becomes a lot easier.
right. I this is something that I love that. I love that. I didn't think of it in the sense of me balancing something does have the opportunity to fall. I just realized that it just starts falling.
Yeah,
But
exactly. Yeah.
but the whole boundary thing, I totally get that, and that is something that I am constantly working on.
Mhm.
Mainly because I would like to sleep in my own bed with my wife and not on a couch.
Yeah.
Um, so what I've started doing is, like you said, I set a boundary. I won't work up until this time, and that's it, right?
Mhm.
And there's days and moments where I may work beyond that every
Yeah.
now and then, but I try to make sure that it's not as often.
Yep.
And when I'm done with the computer, I'm done with the computer.
Yep.
If I'm with her, I have to focus on her. if an idea come up when I'm with her, I may pull out my phone, jot the idea down,
Yeah.
and then
Write it
get
down.
right back into focusing on her, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
on the weekends, I would love to be, in the lab making up stuff, doing what I need to do. But my weekends, I have to put that towards my wife and everything else that we have going on. So it's tough, but I also see the rewards in me doing that. For
Yeah.
instance, again, a happy wife, you know,
Exactly. Yeah.
being able to spend time with her, you know, rekindling and things of that nature, and the fact that you're working with your wife, I sort of imagine that it will be maybe a tad bit difficult because both of you
Yeah.
guys are working in the same business, and while
Yeah.
you trying to spend time with her, she might be thinking about something else and vice versa. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. So it's funny. We're very lucky to have very different skill sets. So I run the sales and the operations, and she runs the creative side of the business. So really, it never has become too difficult because we're in different lanes. So there are days where we won't even see each other, and we work out of the same house, because we're on calls with different, as long as we can stay in our lane. The issue is where if I start veering over into the creative lane, she gets upset, and if she starts veering over into the sales lane, I get upset. We got to stay in our own lane, but as long as we do that, we're blessed to have very different skill sets that allow us to collaborate really well.
Oh man, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody can't do that.
No, we just got lucky with what we're good at.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I would say so.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was the biggest mistake that you made as an entrepreneur?
Biggest mistake that we made, it goes back to not jumping, but I'm going to elaborate on that a little bit. So we had gotten our revenue to a point where we should have went full time, and we didn't, and we were overstretched, working way too much, unable to deliver on the projects that we had. And so we did a really poor job. This was probably like a year and a half into our business, and we crumbled. We lost almost all our clients because we couldn't serve them in the way that they deserved to be served. And I look back at that. I don't regret it because I learned a lot from it, but
Hmm.
it's definitely the biggest mistake that we made at that point. When we had that sort of project volume, we should have taken the leap into working full time, or at least part time, right? So that we could serve our clients in the way that they deserved. But we tried to make it happen and work 90 hours a week, and we were just exhausted, and we couldn't make it work. And so there was a point where we went to zero basically and had to build from the ground up again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. Totally. I totally get that.
yeah.
Okay, last question.
Okay.
What is something personal about you that you want the class to know that cannot be found on Google or Wikipedia?
What I always tell people, that's a great question, by the way. That's a Google interview question. I love it. So I always tell people that I love looking at things from both perspectives. So one of the reasons I love our podcast so much and entrepreneurship, is that you can talk with people that you may or may not disagree with, but if you or agree or disagree with. But if you're open-minded enough to talk with somebody, I can talk with someone that I disagree wholeheartedly with on a marketing tactic or a sales tactic or a social issue or whatever it is. And I can have that conversation, and I am very open to changing my mind. And I love those conversations. And I think a lot of the issue in the world right now is because they're not willing to come off whatever it is that they believe and see it from another perspective. And
Yeah,
I love looking at things from other perspectives. You'll never find that on Google about me. You'll never, unless you talk to me, you'll never know that. So those conversations, I'm not one that's afraid to go out of my comfort zone. And I like having friends from different backgrounds. I like having friends with different views because I think that challenging conversation, if you guys can have that in an open and healthy way,
hmm,
it's such a good thing for relationships. It's such a good thing for friendships. It's such a good thing for advancement in your thought and your intellect and your business and whatever it is. I love that, and that's something about me that I'm super passionate about furthering as I go through life.
man. The fact that you brought that up, I this is a risk, but I will speak on it anyway.
Sure.
Um, I have a coworker of mine who, for those of you in the class who don't know or haven't seen my picture, I am a black male. Like, I'm a black man. Okay. A coworker of mine who is white, in the midst of the whole social injustice with, the unfortunate, you know, dealings in America right now, and all that type of stuff, the riots, the protesting, and things of that nature. I love this lady to pieces. I love her to the moon and back. Um, we she candidly asked me what was my thoughts on everything that's going on, and I was completely open with her. I told her, there's just some things that you as a white person and as a woman won't understand because of your skin color. And that's not to say that I'm trying to change your mind or anything like that. It's just two totally different perspectives. And I was trying to explain to her how the whole, you know, you're not racist, but it's just your perspective that may, you know, whatever else like that. Like the whole Black Lives Matter versus
Right.
All Lives Matter. There's a open way of having this conversation. And again, the reason why I say it was a risk is because I'm not trying to sway people to their thinking or
Right.
anything like that, whether on the podcast or even my coworker. It's even more of a risk for me to be having this conversation with a coworker, right?
Right. Right.
Um, but from that conversation, she was able to understand and open her eyes a little bit to see where what it's like. Uh, Maybe not from a personal, but she's able to see it from my side
Yeah.
as a black man. And again, like I mentioned, I'm a black man. I'm 6'5". To a lot of people, I'm gonna come off as threatening. I'm not threatening.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not gonna say I'm not threatening, but I'm not threatening. You know what I'm saying?
As a football player, you still gotta be a little intimidating.
Yeah, yeah, but people will look at me and will be afraid,
Right.
and and things of that nature. There's a different sense of feeling, there's a different sense of thinking, and a bunch of other stuff that again we won't get into or
Yeah.
anything like that. But the fact that she was open enough to have this conversation, she was
Yeah.
curious enough to learn, you know,
Yeah.
that made our work relationship better, that
Yeah.
made our friendship better, And again, that's why I love her to pieces. The fact that
Yeah.
she was open enough to ask me some of these questions and be able
Yeah.
to accept my point of view, and for me to accept her point of view, that made all the world of a difference for our relationship as
Yeah.
colleagues and just on a personal level. You know,
If we could all do a better job of that, I think that a lot of problems can be solved in all areas of life. I really do. I think that being open to other perspectives is so important. So
totally, totally.
yeah.
Well, I want to say again, I thank you for being on this podcast. I thank you for coming into the School of Hard Knocks and teaching us this lesson. I want to give you the floor for just a little bit for you to give a shout out to everything that you're doing right now, where the class can find you, whether it's at Costco in Tennessee or not, whatever.
Yeah, yeah, no, thank you. First of all, thank you for having me on the show. This was great. Your questions are awesome and thought provoking. So this
Yeah.
was a beautiful experience for me. You can check us out at Showtime Media MGMT. It's a little confusing.com. And then that's the same handle on Instagram at Showtime Media MGMT. I'm most active on LinkedIn, just Mitch Schoenman, Schoenman. You can find me on there. I'm posting mindset, marketing, sales content on a mostly daily basis. And then, yeah, those are the three places we're most active. So check us out. And, if there's any way we can ever help you, shameless plug, let us know.
Oh, also, I want you to shout out your podcast too.
Yeah, right. Yes. Thank you. Our podcast is the Along the Way podcast. You can find us on Instagram at Along the Way Pod. So we actually have season 2 coming out here shortly. So
Awesome. And I'm hoping to be on that.
I said, well, you're scheduled to be on it. So everybody in class, check it out. Bernard's going to be on the Along the Way podcast, and we're really excited. And yeah.
Man, that's amazing. Again,
Yeah.
I thank you for coming out to the class. I can't wait to have you back on the show at some point in time later on in the future to teach
Anytime.
future lessons.
Yeah.
And class, to you pretty much took the notes. It was an awesome lesson. You learned so much about marketing and even just some things that you probably never knew before. I want you to go ahead, check out everything that he has going on his side of the world in his neck of the woods. If you're looking for help with your website or just marketing in general, make sure you reach out to him. And like I always say around this time, everything that you do, chase after it with violent action. Class has concluded, and I will see you guys in the next one. About 15 years ago, I hated where I was at, and I knew that I was meant for more greatness. I wanted to start a business, and I asked my friends and family, how do I start a business? 90% of them never started a business before, and the 10% that didn't remember what they did. So I went on and earned my bumps and bruises from the School of Hard Knocks. My inspiration for the School of Hard Knocks and the courses that I've created was to reach people that felt the same way that I felt way back when. Like I was destined for more. The purpose of the Genesis Project podcast was to move those same people toward that greatness with the guest professors that comes to the show and learn from their mistakes. This is a call to action to those who are searching for greatness. Join the School of Hard Knocks by commenting, sharing, subscribing, and get this message out to those searching for greatness. Click on the links in the description to get more information. And everything you do, everything that you chase after it with violent action. I'll see you in the hallway.